The Andy Pollin Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, figuring they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
So how do you feel if you're Sam Hartman? You've been on the practice squad all year for the Commanders. You've been through all the meetings. They kept you around even though you stunk in the preseason. And now, with an opportunity to possibly suit up, they're bypassing you for a quarterback who until a week ago was on the practice squad for the Arizona Cardinals. And the starting quarterback may be the well-traveled Josh Johnson, 39 years old. And I say well-traveled, I mean well-traveled. Oh, my God. And the NFL wants to play 18 games? And this is the product that they're going to put out on national TV on Christmas Day? Oy, Gewalt. Man, oh, man, oh, man. The greed game has really ramped up. Now, there are some quarterbacks who've managed to stay healthy for the entire year, like Dak Prescott, who we'll see on the field on Thursday when the Cowboys come to town. But I think what's happened here is indicative of what has happened around the league. And if you have that elite quarterback and he does manage to stay healthy for the entire year, see Brock Purdy, who was, by the way, the last pick of the draft a few years ago, you can be in it. And Brock Purdy throws 5 touchdown passes last night. You lose your starting quarterback, and that's not all of the Commanders' problems this year, but if you're only going to get 7 games out of Daniels, and Daniels is your franchise guy, and the expectation is, yeah, he's going to get banged up here and there, but he did make all 20 starts last year. That goes down the tubes, and this is what you're dealing with now? The Christmas Day slate, by the way, might feature Josh Johnson or Jeff Driscoll. Flip a coin on that. The Minnesota Vikings are due to start Max Brosmer, who last time we saw him was god-awful. And the Kansas City Chiefs, always on primetime spots, always in the spotlight because they got number 15, Patrick Mahomes. Well, they don't have number 15 anymore, and now they are down to Chris Oladokun, who will apparently make the start for them. I don't know, Roger Goodell. I know there's a lot of money in 18, and eventually you want to get to 20, but we're going to have a Super Bowl. We're going to have it. It's going to happen. I've said this for years. We've already had Super Bowls where one of the quarterbacks has been a backup. We're going to have a quarterback situation kind of like what we have now for these Christmas Day games before you know it. I don't know if we'll get down to a pair of third stringers, but it's definitely going to happen. There's going to be 2 second stringers starting the game, and you could say, okay, but, the backup quarterbacks have won. Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl for the New York Giants. The Philadelphia Eagles won their Super Bowl a few years ago with a backup quarterback. So, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe. But if you're going to put all the emphasis on starting quarterbacks and you're going to pay them all that money, then you'd like to have them available. If once they get to the second contract for Jaden Daniels and he's chewing up 35 to 40% of your salary cap, you need him out on the field. You don't want to be putting Josh Johnson or Jeff Driscoll out there. That's not a good way to spend your money. I know in order to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have number 5 on the field, but right now, he's a long way from that, and the next time we'll see him is apparently next year, and I don't even know if he'll get a series in the preseason. I have to wait for the opening game of the season. Anyway, again, where the state of quarterbacking is, where you had Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, throwing 5 touchdown passes last night in San Francisco's 48-27 win over the Colts, with most of the attention going into the game not on Purdy, but on Philip Rivers, 44 years old, going into his second start. He's still upright after 2 games. All these young and in-shape quarterbacks, they're all on the shelf, but old portly Philip Rivers dragging his beer belly out onto the field was okay last night. He did fine. He was 23 of 35 for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and despite his immobility, was only sacked a couple of times. And he did manage to put 27 points on the board, but San Francisco just ran roughshod over their defense with 48 points. And it looks like it's, curtains time for the playoff hopes of the Colts. They have almost no chance to do it. They're going to need a lot of help and win their last two games. And Rivers may be the guy. I guess he's going to be the guy as long as he stays healthy. But even though, as he says, he's playing okay, they're losing games.
There's no consolation, right? There's no prize for losing. But it was better this week. From a standpoint of offensively and putting points on the board, but you got to win with it, like we said. And right now we're not getting that done. And I know this locker room's hurting. Again, I've been a part of it for a short time, for 2 losses, and I know that it's been a long slide now for over a month, and I know that's tough. I've been a part of those slides, and now I'm obviously a part of this right now. And we just got to find a way to dig deep and find a way to win a football game. And we can't worry about all the scenarios and all the things out there. I know they're all out there. I know what they are. But we got to find a way to win a football game, or none of the scenarios come into play.
Yeah, well, we can go through all the scenarios, but it's a real long shot for the Colts, even if they win their last 2 games. That was fun, fun little diversion in December, seeing Philip Rivers back. But the net is 0-2. Didn't win either of his 2 starts, and the Colts look like they are not going to make the playoffs this year. Meantime, for the Christmas Day game, you got 2 non-playoff teams here in the Commanders and the Cowboys. The line now up to 6.5 with all this quarterback uncertainty and all the injuries that the Commanders are going through, and I'll go through some of those in a moment. But Nate Burleson, who's going to be part of the Netflix coverage, was on with Dan Patrick yesterday. Now, imagine the negotiations between the NFL and Netflix when they're trying to schedule the 2 Christmas Day games, and they throw out the Cowboys. Now, even if the Cowboys at this point were 0-15, people would watch. They're the Cowboys, so that gets you guaranteed ratings. And as they're upping the price, they're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to give you the Washington Commanders, who made it to the NFC Championship game last year with maybe the most exciting player in football in Jaden Daniels. But it's going to cost you. Okay, we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it. It's okay. Cowboys and Indians, as it was back in the day. Now it's Commanders and Cowboys, but they still get a big number. So now they're stuck with 2 teams that are not going to be in the playoffs, and Washington dragging its 4-11 record. Burleson on the buildup and where we are right now.
Initially, they reached out and they said, this is going to be the Cowboys, Commanders on Christmas Day. I'm thinking, we got an NFC East rivalry. This is going to be one of the biggest games of the year. Dak Prescott, they're fighting for a chance to make a Super Bowl run. Jaden Daniels riding everybody, just how good he is at the quarterback position. Great defenses and offenses. It's not a checkers game. It's chess. All of the good things that we like to say in sports. And then it falls off the rails. The Cowboys have another year of disappointment and not being contenders. And then just injuries decimated this Commanders team. But here's the thing. It still is a rivalry game. And you have a couple of cool people in the booth with a bunch of people surrounding the game. We are going to have fun. It's Christmas Day. We're going to talk X's and O's, stories about pros. And the reality is, football always finds a way of making itself entertaining, even if the playoff implications aren't there. Listen, we got a ton of stuff we could talk about. Christmas movies, Christmas Day routines. We can talk about being in the playoffs versus booking your vacation. I think Matt, Ryan, and I were on the set yesterday trying to figure out who we're going to put in our all-Christmas team. Who's Santa, who's Rudolph, down the line. We got a ton of stuff to fill time if the game doesn't give us the entertainment we need. But I have a feeling that Cowboys Commanders is going to be plenty of the entertainment we will need.
Well, generally, the Cowboys usually hang a lot of points on Washington, and their defense is such a mess right now. I don't know why that won't be the case. I mean, you're only going to have one NFL quarterback on the field on Thursday, and that's going to be Dak Prescott, who's having a big year. The defense is bad, but they score a lot of points, and not a good situation. Now, one of the things that we've talked about throughout the season is this is an old roster, so we're starting to see older players go down. Zach Ertz out for the year, career probably over. Austin Eckler, who's plus 30 as a running back, went down in the second game of the year. He's probably done as a player. But Got to credit Bobby Wagner. Now, Bobby Wagner is a real liability trying to cover a back out of the backfield at this point. But at 35 and now equipped with his master's degree from Howard, he's still standing and actually is the only player on the team with a chance to make the Pro Bowl when the rosters come out today. I don't know whether he's going to make it or not. He's still a tackling machine. But, again, I don't think you can bring him back for another year. And he was in the locker room yesterday talking to reporters about what all these injuries have done to this roster this year.
You try to stay positive. Like you said, you try to have the next man up mentality. I don't think you think about that until you're done, or at least I don't, because it could have an effect on you. So I just, pray for the guys. If I see them in the building, I have conversations with them, make sure they're doing well. But we still got to play a game.
But how hard is it to keep that out of your mind when it's, quarterback, this guy, that guy, that guy? Is it hard to maintain that sort of focus when it's that many?
Not for me.
That's being a pro, right? You go out there and you play. You play every game like it's your last game. And he's done that. He's been a good soldier here and a big part of the success for last year. But this team has to move on from these older patch guys and start to rebuild with draft picks and younger players. But before we get to the total quarterback situation, this was funny in a kind of ironic way, I guess, yesterday when Dan Quinn was asked about the emergency quarterback situation on Saturday when they had lost Marcus Mariota. Okay, so Marcus Mariota goes out. They know that Josh Johnson is the only other quarterback who is dressed. Because they still have Jaden Daniels on the roster, they couldn't dress Sam Hartman as the emergency quarterback. So they didn't have that available. So in a normal situation, the emergency quarterback is Luke McCaffrey, who played quarterback in college for a while before transitioning to wide receiver. Well, he's on injured reserve. Colston Yankoff, who is more of a special teams guy, tight end from UCLA, started it out as a quarterback there. So they were the two possibilities earlier in the season if it got down to the third guy. With both those guys out on Saturday, this was Dan Quinn explaining what the circumstances were if they were to get to that third quarterback should Josh Johnson have gone down.
Such an interesting question. So, yes, Luke was, of course, one. And, yes, Yankoff was another. But in last game, there was not Yank or Luke. So you ready for the one that was going to be in the last one? Not David Blau. Good guess. It was going to be, and obviously working in some Wildcat, Jalen Lane. You can imagine my nervousness that took place after, one's out and others there. And so generally in that space, who's had experience, taking snaps, handing it off, doing those things. So that was who was the third, emergency into that spot last week. So on the first punt of the game, when he's out, that plan changed. And so it became Jeremy McNichol. And so, there's always a contingency planning. But, it's funny that you brought that up. That actually went through my head after the first punt. Okay, there we go.
So there's your answer, kids. Jeremy McNichol, come on down. He would have been the emergency quarterback on Saturday. It's not Brian Mitchell. Yeah, Brian Mitchell was a 4-year starter in college at quarterback. Became a punt returner and a running back here, punt and kick returner, probably should be in the Hall of Fame. That was their alternative for the famed body bag game against the Philadelphia Eagles in 1990. This is Jeremy McNichol, and I'm sure if he had gone in the game, the order was you are not to throw a pass. Either run it yourself or hand it off to somebody else. Now, here's Sam Hartman. It's not like he's the ugly girl at the dance here, because he's a really good-looking guy. And for whatever reason, they've kept him around, even though his performance in the preseason was stinko, god-awful. The only reason Josh Johnson is on this roster is because Sam Hartman couldn't win the third job because he was terrible. Completed 54% of his passes, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not good, but they kept him around. He's friends with Jaden, so that may have something to do with it. A friend of the franchise guy might be enough to keep him on the roster. But rather than say, okay, we're gonna start Josh Johnson. He finished up the game, and if Mariota can't go because of the injury to his hand and to his quad, we'll go with Josh. But we got faith in Sam because Sam knows the system. He's been in all the meetings. He's the guy as next man. No. They went out and they signed Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll, okay, was here last year, knows the system, but what does that tell you about Sam Hartman? Why is he still here? If in the most emergency of emergency situations, you don't call on Sam Hartman, hello? Maybe you ought to have somebody else on that practice squad. Maybe it should have been Jeff Driscoll all year. He's sitting on Arizona's squad. Why didn't you keep him around? Maybe he's not tight enough with Jaden. I don't know. But this was Quinn explaining yesterday why they are bypassing Sam Hartman for the active roster and going with Jeff Driscoll as either the third or backup or possibly even the starter on Thursday if Marcus Mariota can't go.
The good news is that we had a whole year with Jeff, so we had some background with him as well. So we tried to give Sam as much playing time as we could from the preseason. That was a big part of the goal for the evaluation. What I've seen, a lot of the growth, we wouldn't be able to show on a stat sheet or something from this season, but it definitely, has been going like this with Sam. And so going into it, we just wanted to make sure, 3 guys onto the roster. And in that space, Jeff was on a practice squad. So that makes the best, way to get all 3 in the building and being ready to perform. As far as up and order and all that, we haven't determined all of that yet, but let's get the guys in the huddle first. We can figure out how we want to deploy everybody.
What? Sam is on an upward trajectory. We like what we've seen. Okay, you got a drowning man. Here's a lifeguard. No, we're not going to use that lifeguard. We're going to call in a lifeguard from Arizona, and we're going to have to wait for that. So, let him drown for a while, and then the Arizona lifeguard will come in to save him. So here's Jeff Driscoll showing up again in Ashburn, where he spent last year, wearing number 16. The kicker wears that now, so he's wearing number 2. And he talked about how he was sitting in Arizona, and this is the life of these type of quarterbacks anyway. They look around the league and they say where the injuries are and where they might go. Famous with Babe Laufenberg, who was at the Giggling Marlin in Mexico in 1985, watching Monday Night Football on TV and seeing Joe Theismann's leg broken, and knowing enough to get in contact with his brother, who would call Bobby Beathard, the general manager of the team at the time, so that he could bring him back just in case he had to play behind Jay Schrader. That's the way those things work, and Driscoll was, sort of prepared for this, been there, done that.
I was excited for, to come back to a building that I know, and, know the guys, know the staff, know the system. Most of, there's a lot of carryover from last year. It's not the exact same, but, the comfortability is there. So I'm happy to be here, happy to see these guys, and, hopeful to help out in any way I can these last couple weeks.
And I know it's possible you could start on Thursday. How do you embrace that potential challenge? And do you think you could turn around and be ready to start on Thursday if you're...
Yeah, I mean, anybody on the roster, who's dressing out on game day is expected to be able to go in and handle the game plan. And, that's how I'm going to treat this week is attack that and be ready to go because, nobody cares if you're here for the whole year or a couple days. If you're in the game, you're expected to perform, and that's what I'm going to hold myself to.
Were you keeping an eye on this situation from afar at all?
I mean, I was watching the game just like most people were, and unfortunately, I saw Marcus go down. Which was unfortunate, and I know how things work in this league. There's relationships, there's built-in trust from just the time spent together. And I'm happy to be back, but, I wish it was in different circumstances. But, yeah, definitely happy to be back here.
What's it mean that they kind of immediately think to call you and just check on your availability, see if it's something you're interested in?
Yeah, no, I was fired up. I had a great time here last year. I think that, while I didn't play, during the season, I feel like I did enough to earn some trust. And, that showed up, obviously. this week. So happy to be back.
Either you earn the trust or they just totally don't trust Sam Hartman. Now, Driscoll has made 12 NFL career starts. Hartman has never taken an NFL snap, so that may have something to do with it. But the last time that Jeff Driscoll started a game was 2023 for Cleveland. And at least he'd been there for a while and was ready to step in. In this case, he's back in the building for 3 days and might be called on to start Thursday.
I mean, I've been here one day. I got a lot of work to do. I feel like I did make a lot of progress in day one, and a lot of it came back to me relatively quickly just because there is a lot of the same terminology. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go in and be prepared and, do what I'm asked to do and do it to the best of my ability.
Okay, so that's where they are on the quarterback situation. And when he's asked to go in for the best of his ability, he's not going to have much around him. The latest is Sam Cosmi is back on injured reserve, suffered a concussion on Saturday. So Andrew Wiley, at least he's played some and started at the beginning of the year when Cosmi was rehabbing his knee. He's back in that spot. They also put receiver Jalen Lane on injured reserve, so he's not going to play in the last 2 games of the year for whatever that means, especially punt returns. He won't be doing that, obviously. Eddie Goldman suffered a concussion. He's on injured reserve. And they had 6 players yesterday who missed practice. Laramie Tunsil trying to get back from an oblique injury. Then you had Marcus Mariota not practicing. Deron Payne has a back problem, so he's not going. Then you got Nick Ballore, even a special teams guy. He's out with a concussion. Brandon Coleman, who filled in for Tunsil on Saturday, was a full participant, but he did hurt his shin, as you know, against the Eagles. And Colson Yankoff also practiced, so he may be back. And I guess Yankoff would then assume the third quarterback spot with Sam Hartman staying on the practice squad. So God forbid anything happens to Josh Johnson and Jeff Driscoll, Colson Yankoff gets back in. The only positive part of this is that the 2 players who were involved in the brawl or kicked out of the brawl on Saturday, they will not be suspended for the game. So Quan Martin and Javon Kinlaw are going to be available. They'll just be a little bit lighter in the wallet. You got all that? What a mess. What a stinking mess. All right, coming up, we'll talk more about what the 49ers did last night to the Colts and Philip Rivers and all that, plus the Josh Johnson journey. And I will chronicle it move by move. Stay with us. It's the Andy Pollard Show, ESPN 630. Well, how about Trent Williams? Trent Williams was drafted by Washington in 2010. He was the first Washington draft pick by Mike Shanahan. He is still playing at a high level. Played very well last night. Certainly did a great job of protecting Brock Purdy, who threw 5 touchdown passes. And he ain't going anywhere for a while. Pretty amazing story. Talked to Scott Van Pelt after the game last night. We'll play some of that conversation coming up. And how about the journey of Josh Johnson since he came out of the University of San Diego, and he has been everywhere, not just the NFL. Wait till you hear the chronology of the travels of Josh Johnson, who could be the starter on Thursday against the Cowboys. It could be Jeff Driscoll, who was on the practice squad of Arizona until a couple of days ago, and Sam Hartman, who's been here. I don't know. You're gonna stay at the kids' table because we don't think you're capable of taking a snap. Why is he on the roster? Well, I'm not really on the roster. He's on the practice squad, but why is he still in the organization? His opportunities to play stunk. He was horrible in the preseason, and that's really the only reason Josh Johnson's on the roster. And if Marcus Mariota can't go, and he didn't practice yesterday because he's got stitches in his throwing hand after being stepped on Saturday against the Eagles, and he's also got a quad problem, and if he can't run, that's a big part of his game. Anyway, last night the focus was on one old man, and it was Philip Rivers, who after 5 years of being away played his second game. He played well again, or well enough. He had played against Seattle. The game went down to the last minute on the road. They lost. They were home last night, wearing some very silly uniforms. I mean, come on, the Colts uniforms are classic. And they had these, like, all blue, uniforms with different striping and the blue and black helmet. Come on. They're the Colts. If you're going to steal that iconic logo and name, then they were allowed to do it when they left in the middle of the night in the Mayflower vans in 1984 when Bob Irsay stole the hearts of Baltimoreans, taking their team away. You ought to at least respect their legacy and wear decent uniforms. But they were wearing these cockamamie uniforms last night, and Rivers was okay. He was 23 of 35, 277 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He threw an interception and was sacked only twice and put up 27 points. The problem was the 49ers couldn't be stopped. They scored 48 points with Brock Purdy throwing 5 touchdown passes. He was 25 of 34, so he only completed 25 passes. 5 of them were for touchdowns, 295 yards. He did throw 1 interception. Niners are now 11-4. They could get the number 1 seed and home field throughout the playoffs. They were kind of forgotten early in the year when they had a number of injuries, but they're right there right now. And Trent Williams is right there. And realize Williams was the first pick that Mike Shanahan made after becoming head coach in 2010. And tell you something else about, you maybe remember this draft, and I thought Roger Goodell came off as an absolute clown in this case, as he has from time to time over the years, more often than I would like. But at a time when, things were a little different in this country too, he asked to be introduced as Trent Silverback Williams. And I remember Jim Vance, that's how long ago this was, 15 years ago. Jim Vance, who was the wonderful news anchor at Channel 4 for well over 30 years, did a commentary on that, and that's a bad look. I don't care if that's what his nickname is. A white man should not be calling a black player Silverback, and it was a bad look, and it just was unsettling at the time. Now, Williams became a great player. He made a bunch of Pro Bowls, All-Pro. He did have a couple of marijuana suspensions here, and then things went sideways. Remember, he had a cyst on his head, and he said that the medical staff did not diagnose it properly, that it could have been cancerous, and it should have been taken care of, and that led to a holdout. He didn't show up for part of the 2019 season, right? And then when they brought in Ron Rivera as the head coach, he traded him for a 5th-round pick to San Francisco. And since then, he's been to, I think, 2 Super Bowls, hasn't won either one, and could get back there again. Now, realize, since he came in the league, since Trent Williams came into the NFL, he's played for Mike Shanahan, he's played for Jay Gruden, Bill Callahan finished up the 2019 season, so that was 11 games with him. So he played for all 3 of those coaches, never played for Rivera, and, of course, has never played for Dan Quinn. That's how much history has transpired since Trent Williams was drafted in the first round by Washington in 2000 and was it 2010? Yeah, it was 2010. Wow, long time ago. This was Williams last night with Scott Van Pelt, and I'll tell you something about the 49er fans. They travel. They were in Indianapolis, and when they do these post-game shows, they fill up the stands around the set, and they were loud and boisterous and very supportive, as you'll hear, for Trent Williams as he yacked with Scott Van Pelt about not only being with a team that's in position to get to the Super Bowl, but being with an organization. He wasn't here last year when things were a lot better, but after being with the Dan Snyder Redskins, he's now been with the 49ers for, was this 6 years? 6 years now in San Francisco, and it's a lot different ballgame there.
This is the first time in my career that I can guarantee that, we can go away and we don't even have to use silent count most of the time.
Crazy, right?
I've never been a part of making a home team use silent count, and, that's the faithful. That's the faithful for you.
And I was talking to somebody about that earlier. I feel like what it is an organization that has such history, and what it is to me is that there are generations that watch Joe do it and Steve do it, and then they pass it down to their kids, and it's all across the country. And there are a bunch of organizations that have that, but to play for one, you feel it in an advantageous way, don't you?
100%. 100%. The faithful is all across America, not just in the Bay, not just in California. And like you said it, those guys won a lot of championships.
Yep.
They had the state of California in the palm of their hand for most of their career. So,
Sure.
we just reaping the benefits.
Well, all right, all love to them, but let's talk about the men in the arena and the people that put it on tape on the field.
Right.
Your offense, I talked to Morstead, the punter, I said, you don't work. I mean, he literally hasn't punted since November.
That's crazy.
What is it about the tempo, the rhythm, the play calling that is working at a level like this? What leads to it all?
It's just having all our pieces, and we still down a couple.
Yeah, right. Pearsall didn't.
Yeah. Down. We just down Ricky, but when you have George, Christian, you got Jawan, you got KB, you got D-Rob, all those guys on the field, it's pick your poison, and Brock processes things so fast, he gets the ball to the right guy constantly, and that's how we get going.
This is his first ever 5-touchdown game. It's the first ever Monday night game for a Niner quarterback with 5 touchdowns, which is crazy because of the guys that I just mentioned, like legends, all-timers.
All right.
But what are you seeing from him in a season that I had to imagine at times was frustrating because of the toe and man, let me get out there with my guys. But what are you seeing from him right now?
He's resilient, and he has a certain piece about him right now to where he can't get rattled, and he's just really confident in his abilities. He's really confident in his scheme, and it seeps out his pores, and the whole offense can feel it. And, he's our leader, and we follow him.
I had a lot of company and people going, wait a minute, San Francisco has a direct path to the 1 seed. I hadn't considered that.
Right.
But now that you know it, and you're home for the next 2, and they're Chicago and Seattle, it's good on good. I get that. But as you all realize the path that was in front of you, what was the sense among your group about what was going to be required to get that done? Because it's a hell of a game changer.
Yeah, just tunnel vision. I told the guys, man, we got to have tunnel vision. We got to take this thing one week at a time. We got 3 back-to-back 10-win teams, playoff teams that we got to go head-to-head, and try to allow us to accomplish one of the goals we set out at the beginning of the year. So it's obviously going to be an incredibly hard road, but I think we have the team to do it, and we have the confidence to do it. We just got to take it 1 week at a time.
I was on my guy Murph and Marcus on 680. That's KMBR out there by the Bay. The folks out there know what I'm talking about. And we were talking about your coach, and I said, man, I think Shanahan is as good a coach as there is in a National Football League.
100%.
And I think this is the best job he's ever done, given all you've lost. You lose Fred Warner, I don't know how you can keep going, but and both. I understand, but to me, Fred's the heart and soul of that side of the ball.
Correct.
What has been what you've observed that you would give him the most credit for this year? Anything specific that would make sense to us, maybe?
Just standing up in front of the team where, you lose Fred, you lose Nick. When that news hit in the locker room, it's impossible not to get down, right? When you look at Fred, look at his ankle, and how those things worked out.
Right.
Really tough.
All right, for the folks at home that maybe can't make out what they're saying 1 more year.
1 more year, yeah.
What do you got to say about that?
I'm nowhere near done, so yeah, we got a few years.
He says he's nowhere near done. He's going to run it back. The show goes on. The show goes on. It's the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving.
I ain't going nowhere.
Hey, about that, you're 37. If you stayed 7 more years, you'd be the same age as Philip Rivers.
I know, right?
As a peer of a guy that comes back off of the couch to perform as he did tonight, how would you describe what that man did?
Impressive.
Right?
Impressive. For lack of a better word, super impressive. For him to be 44, not only just the age, but to have 5 years away from the game. And then to come back mid-season, we're all in, it's week 15, week 16, we're in our stride, for him to come from coaching, just chilling with his kids and come out here and march the ball up and down the field for, the majority of the game. We got our stops and obviously that helped us get the win, but Philip Rivers played his butt off.
Yeah, he did, and as well as he played, Brock was even better. We alluded to the night that he had, and as just sort of a final thought, let you get to your guys, just the path that's in front of you, right? I mean, it's an organization that's done it, and I feel like you all, I said it to Joe, you guys have been hiding in plain sight. Everyone's talking about maybe the Rams and the Seahawks and Philly and this and that, and then the path for you all, and you've been close. It's right there in front of you.
Yeah,
what's the sense of what these next couple of months potentially could be like for you, the sense of optimism?
Oh, man, super optimistic. You know, when you set out those 4 or 5 goals at the beginning of the year, and I'm pretty sure majority of the teams have the same goals.
Yeah, but not every team could. Not everyone can achieve it. You guys could achieve it.
Of course, and it's realistic for us, but to actually do it, you still got to go and play those games no matter how good you look on paper, no matter how many All-Pros, Pro Bowlers you got to go and play the game. And we've had to play the game for, I don't know, this is week 16.
Yep.
So we've been committed to this process, and for it to finally start to unfold exactly how we wanted it to, it's super appeasing, and it's just, I know we have the team to do what we want to do, but it's just 1 week at a time. We can't count the eggs before they hatch.
No, you can't count the chickens before they hatch. You don't count the eggs before they hatch. That's easy to count the eggs. It's the chickens that come out of the eggs. But okay, give him a break on that. His job is to protect the quarterback, and he's among the greatest left tackles in the history of the game. And sadly, a lot of those years wasted here on teams that didn't do anything, except the 2012 team that made it to the playoffs and lost to Seattle. But man. I mean, when you look back and you go, well, they traded him for a 5th-round pick. There were some extenuating circumstances at the time, including that the team was owned by Dan Snyder. So that was fun to listen to yesterday or last night with Scott Van Pelt and Trent Williams. By the way, only one Commander making the Pro Bowl this year, and this is kind of a litmus test as to how the season goes, because there have been years where Tress Way was the most valuable player on the team. That's how bad it was with the punter. And last year, Tress Way hardly had to punt, relatively speaking, especially in the early part of the season. He is the only representative for Washington on the Pro Bowl team this year, selected as the primary punter. So recognize that. He has been one of the longest tenured players, especially in recent years. Darryl Green, put it out there with 20 years, but he's been here, 13 years, I believe. So he's approaching like 3rd or 4th for most games played as a Redskin / Washington football team player / commander. And he is their lone Pro Bowl selection. By the way, follow up on this DK Metcalf story. I think we all knew that he was going to be suspended for the altercation that he had with the fan over the weekend in Detroit, and the forfeit of salary for the 2 games. Now, he may appeal this down to 1, but the forfeit is over $500,000. 2-game salary, $555,000, and on top of that, the suspension would void the $45 million in future guaranteed money. Yeah. Now they can beat Cleveland without him, and if they beat Cleveland, Pittsburgh would clinch the division, and the Ravens would be left out of the playoffs. But he is leading them with 850 receiving yards, 59 catches, and they can make the playoffs without him. But man, not just the forfeit of salary this year, $500,000, but $45 million in future guaranteed money. That's not just on the contract. That's guaranteed money. Now, whether Pittsburgh looks at this and says, because they have the option on it, but that is a clause in the contract that if he gets suspended, the team does have the option of voiding the rest of the contract, which they may do. I don't know. I mean, these are not $45 million numbers. 59 catches, 850 yards. Okay, so I mean he's the best receiver that they've got, but that's not the kind of numbers that you would expect for that kind of salary. And then DK Metcalf, that contract was held out there by Terry McLaurin and his representatives as to where they wanted to be. They didn't get quite there, but they got big money. And what did they have for McLaurin this year? Not enough healthy games. So I guess next year would be the year, because next year the extension fully kicks in, and I think they'd have an out after that, and we'll see where that goes. So coming up, Josh Johnson, who may or may not start on Thursday against the Cowboys, has had one incredible journey, and I will chronicle it next. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
So as the late, great Vin Scully used to say when he started a broadcast, which usually went about 3 hours, baseball game, pull up a chair, meaning that it was going to take a while. Don't be standing. I'm not going to go 3 hours, but this is going to take a couple of minutes here to chronicle the football career of Josh Johnson, who could be the starting quarterback for the Commanders on Thursday. Josh Johnson's 39 years old. He played his last college football game 18 years ago at the University of San Diego, where he was a 3-year starter playing for a coach in his first head coaching job, and his name is Jim Harbaugh. Now, since then, Jim Harbaugh's moved around some. He left San Diego, coached at Stanford, coached the 49ers, went to Michigan, won a national championship. Now he's back in the NFL with the Chargers. He's been around. Not like Josh Johnson has been around. In fact, at the University of San Diego, where he stayed 4 years, that's the longest he's been playing football in his entire life, I guess, other than high school. He was selected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 5th round of the 2008 draft, 160 overall. Actually started his first game against the Redskins September 28, 2009. They lost the game 16-13, and he did, though, throw a touchdown pass to Antonio Bryant on his first pass of the game. So he kind of made a splash there, but it didn't work out long-term for him in Tampa Bay. During 2010 season, he was the backup quarterback there to Josh Freeman. Then in 2011, December 4th, he started in place of Freeman against the Carolina Panthers, completed 16 of 27, 229 yards and a touchdown, but they lost the game 38-19. Then the travels begin. So he's drafted in Tampa Bay in 2008. By 2012, he's with the San Francisco 49ers. March of 2012, signed a 2-year deal with the head coach there at the time, Jim Harbaugh, who had made his next stop at Stanford, then wound up with the 49ers in 2012. But having the old coach coaching him again didn't work out, because on August 31st, he was cut by the 49ers as they got the roster down to 53. Tried out for the Bears later that season in 2012, didn't make it, but also played that season for the Sacramento Mountain Lions of the United Football League. He played 2 games before the league folded. Then December 26, 2012, the Browns announced that they had signed Josh Johnson after injuries to Brandon Weeden, remember him? And Colt McCoy, who, of course, was always hurt, came here and got hurt all the time. Johnson played 1 snap in a Week 17 loss to the Steelers, and that 1 snap resulted in a sack and a fumble. Not a good appearance there. March of 2013, signed with the Bengals. May of 2014, he was released by the Bengals. He signed with the 49ers later that month, was released September 20th, re-signed 3 days later. Released again on October 10th, re-signed 4 days later. Was repeatedly signed and released to give the 49ers a 54th roster spot. They were just using him to sign him and re-sign him. Then he signs with the Bengals April 2nd, 2015. Released August 25th. Signed with the Jets August 27th, 2015. Released by the Jets 9 days later. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts October 2nd, 2015. Was needed because of an injury to Andrew Luck, but was released 3 days later. Re-signed October 7th. Released again 5 days later. Surfaces with the Buffalo Bills October 13th of 2015. Then didn't play there, but was signed by the Baltimore Ravens on May 15, 2016, released in September. Goes and signs with the New York Giants September 5th, active for only 2 games because of injuries to backup Ryan Nassib. I think he was a former Syracuse quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. Then March 17, 2017, signed a 2-year deal with the Giants. On September 2nd, he was released during preseason cuts. Goes and signs on November 7th of 2017 with the Houston Texans after they had released Matt McGloin. He was a former Penn State quarterback. Johnson was released by the Texans November 22nd, re-signed December 27th after an injury to Taylor Heineke. Then March of 2018, signs with the Raiders, released on May 20th. 2018, assigned to the San Diego Fleet of the Alliance of American Football. In November, he was protected when he wanted to go back to the NFL. No, you got a contract. But shortly thereafter, he was signed by the Redskins before the league folded and never played a game. Then he's with the Redskins. Actually, this is like the highlight of his career. December 5th of 2018, signs a 1-year deal with the Redskins as a backup to Mark Sanchez after season-ending injuries to Colt McCoy and Alex Smith. Johnson said he played Madden video games to learn the names of his new teammates. On December 9th, 2018, he appeared in his first game after Sanchez was benched against the Giants in a 40-16 loss. He was terrible here. In Johnson's first appearance in the NFL since 2013 with the Bengals, remember? He's appearing 2018, hadn't played in the NFL since 2013, finished the game 11 of 16, 195 yards and a touchdown, his first touchdown since 2011, 7 years earlier, and an interception, also rushed for 45 yards and a touchdown on 7 attempts. After the game, it was announced that Johnson would be the starter for the next game against Jacksonville. And it is an entire run in the NFL, which started in 2008. Finally, in 2018, he got a start, and he won the game. He won the game against the Tennessee Titans. Managed to play a little bit towards the end of the year. And then his contract expired after he'd thrown for 91 yards and an interception in a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. But he was not done. August 10th, 2019, Johnson signed by the Lions, active for the first 2 games as the backup to Matthew Stafford, but was released after the signing of, wait for it, Jeff Driscoll on September 17th. That's 6 years ago. Then come the Los Angeles Wildcats of the XFL. Remember the resurfacing of the XFL for the 2020 season? Remember that? And he was picked in the supplemental draft for that. The Lions tried to sign him. They wanted him. XFL said, no. He's got a contract. Despite the Wildcats finishing 2-3 in the 5-game COVID-shortened season, Johnson performed pretty well in the 4 games. He had his contract terminated, though, when the league suspended operations in April of 2020. But no problem, because here comes another NFL season and another run with the 49ers. Signed to the practice squad November 11th, 2020. On June 1st, he was released by the 49ers. But here come the Jets. August 4th, 2021. Signed by the Jets. Released August 31st, but re-signed to the practice squad. Spends the year on the practice squad. Then the Ravens call, December 15th, 2021. Signed from the Jets practice squad. Was forced into the starting role in Week 16 against the Bengals due to Lamar Jackson having an ankle injury and Tyler Huntley testing positive for COVID. He went 28 for 40, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, but the Ravens lost the game 41-21. Denver Broncos, March 18th, 2022. Released August 30th. Signed to the practice squad. San Francisco 49ers for the 4th time, December 4th, 2022. Signed to the active roster when Jimmy Garoppolo hurt his foot. Here come the Ravens, May 22nd, 2023. Released August 29th, but re-signed 2 days later. March 14th, 2024, after he'd been released, signed with the Ravens. Ended up being second on the depth chart after Lamar Jackson got hurt. Finished the 4th quarter of a blowout loss to the Bills, and that was it. And then he's back here with the Commanders in training camp, and it was basically between Johnson and Sam Hartman to win the 3rd-string job, and Hartman was so god-awful, Johnson won it. So what did that take me, about 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes to take you through the career of Josh Johnson? Here he is in 3.5 minutes talking to reporters yesterday about that journey.
Very unique. Very unique. Most people don't know. A lot of people assume. I've never really been a starter in this league. I've always been a backup. The last time I started was actually when I was here. That's the last time I really actually had a starter game. Most of the opportunities that came for me, just really something happened, something went wrong with the starter. Or I got brought from a team and I'm here and something happened to the backup. And so for me, it's been a unique experience, but it's been one, that I don't take for granted. I'm appreciative of every moment, of every journey, of every step, whether it be a good or whether it be something bad. I saw a lot of growth from those opportunities, and I've just been working hard and just, for these moments. And so this moment is here, and looking forward to it.
What does it say about you that you, like you said, you haven't been a full-time starter? So what does it say about you that you've been able to last this long without having that kind of a role?
Hopefully it say something good. But for me, man, I just try to keep, what's most important, right in front of me. That's starting with my relationship with God. Like you gotta have your heart in the right place going through this. It's a stressful journey. And it's not one that I would wish on anybody, but, God put me in this position to go through this for a reason, and so I'm embracing it with gratitude and just trying to be, a light for this team and just show them that, I'm going to be on my job to do what I got to do to give us a chance.
Obviously, you've been here the full season, but in past when you've been kind of flown in late in the season to be sort of that emergency quarterback, what is that experience like where you're just brought in and you got to cram in like days?
It's a sleepless one. I think that's the best thing I can say. Like it's a sleepless one. The beauty of being in this opportunity is I know that I have a rapport with the system. I've been here every game to understand, this is what we want to do, this is not what we want to do. The only thing that I haven't got is just really the repetitions with the guys, like mainly like the starters, that's it. But just understanding the system, understanding what we're trying to get done, I understand that. And now we're just going out there and physically going to do it.
How crazy is it to think that the last time you got those starters reps was here and that it was 7 years ago?
It don't seem like it was 7 years ago. My kid's the only reason why I feel like it was 7 years ago. Because one was just being born, the other one was a lot younger. But, it goes by fast. And to say it's crazy, I guess when you look at it in the grand scheme of the NFL, it is crazy. But for me, this is just my journey. It's one that's kind of been this way my whole life. From high school, late bloomer, college, went to a non-scholarship school. Nobody thought I'd ever get drafted from there. Getting drafted by the Bucks. I was the 5th quarterback on the team. Ended up making the team as the 4th quarterback. And then the cycle kind of started. And so really, I've just been getting prepared for this my whole life. And I'm not trying to, those are things that I honestly, because I've been through it, it's not something that I overthink. It's just really trying to just be intentional as possible as getting ready to play this game.
What's it mean potentially then that your kids could see you start and it come on Christmas?
It's a great Christmas gift. Great Christmas gift. What it means, man, it's just gratitude, honestly, man. I work really hard. And got to keep my head down. Can't say a lot. You can't go really talk about what you're going to do in my position. You just got to really just work for the moments. And when they show up, you just got to go out there and show it. So that's kind of really all I'm focused on.
There's got to be some kind of feature that's being worked on at Netflix for this because this is a Christmas story. This is resilience. It's unbelievable how many places he's been. He says, I wouldn't wish this journey on anyone else. Well, I think most of us would like to play quarterback in the NFL. If we can't play quarterback, at least we'd like to be on a roster. So he's managed to stay employed in football since 2008. So here we are in 2025. I suck at math, but that's a long time. and the fact that teams keep signing him not to play. Your worst case scenario is if you have to start Josh Johnson. Well, that may be their case on Thursday if Marcus Mariota can't go. And even if Mariota can't go, there's still Jeff Driscoll who could get the start over Josh Johnson. And Johnson probably wouldn't complain about it. He knows what the deal is. But that's just amazing how many places he's been. And that is one of the most incredible careers that anyone has ever had in football, not just the NFL, because he's been in 2 other leagues and one of them folded before they even played a game. Crazy, just crazy. You know what else is crazy? Jacksonville Jaguars left for dead on the side of the road, all of a sudden a factor in the AFC. With the Colts losing last night, they have clinched a playoff spot, and they are in the mix for the number 1 seed in the AFC. And that's really remarkable for a lot of people were looking at that team and said, well, Trevor Lawrence, he was the next Messiah, but he, other than some early success, he's really not that good. Well, they're really good right now. And Ross Tucker, who's done a couple of their games on, I think it's CBS or Fox, whatever he does, and he's a frequent guest with Dan Patrick, does his own podcast. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, do not discount the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Think about this for a second. In a 5-game stretch, Trevor Lawrence didn't have to play in the end of the fourth quarter in 4 of those 5. These are NFL games. This is NFL teams. This is not a Power 4 versus a group of 5 or whatever anybody wants to talk about. These are NFL teams where 4 games out of 5, the Jags were able to put Nick Mullins in the game. Then you go out to Denver and you dominate the Broncos like the Jaguars did. Their offensive line's playing very well. This is the best we've ever seen Trevor Lawrence play. Their weapons are a lot better than people realize. Parker Washington can play. Brenton Strange, the tight end, can play. They're like, Jacoby Myers is kind of like that guy that's always been just okay, but people don't really. The Jaguars are sort of that team, Dan, that has a bunch of underrated, underappreciated, under-the-radar guys that are a lot better than people realize because they don't play a lot of marquee games. Even yesterday, okay? They're playing the team with the number 1 seed. They're playing the big bad Denver Broncos. That was a 405 game. That wasn't the featured Tom Brady, Kevin Burkhardt game. That went to the Steelers-Lions. Have the Jaguars played? I think the Jaguars played the Chiefs like in week 4 on Monday night. That might have been their only primetime game the whole year. Defensively, they got a bunch of guys. And as you can tell, and I noticed this last week when I was there, they have an immense chip on their shoulder. Liam Cohen, he's from Rhode Island, okay? He's got that New Englander in him. He takes offense to everything. He doesn't discriminate. He just takes offense to everything. He even drops the line about, for a small market team like us. It wasn't even a knock by Sean Payton. Sean Payton was just being honest and realistic. So they'll take any little edge they can. And I know people sit here and think, does that really make a difference? Yeah, it does. It just stokes your fire a little bit more every day. It's not really about the game. It's about every day during the week giving you the edge to prep just a little bit harder.
Yeah, and I'm not rooting against the Jags. I want their fan base to know it doesn't. I'm just saying I got to wait to see it happen. Same thing with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, let me see what you do in the postseason. I mean, the Steelers, I don't know how good they are. I know when you get to the postseason, you get in and you lose. So I would like to see a little more from you. I want to see Drake May and the Patriots in the playoffs in a big moment there. I think that's just natural reasoning with a lot of these teams. Show me. We said this before. I want to see what happens with Justin Herbert in a big moment. Yeah, you can throw for 4,000 yards. All of those things are great. We're a bottom-line sports society.
Well, I got news for you. I got news for you, though, Dan. Mahomes is not making the playoffs. We know that. Burrow's not making the playoffs. We know that. It looks highly unlikely Lamar Jackson's going to make the playoffs. So think about that. Before the year, if we did any quarterback rankings, any quarterback discussions, there was a clear top 4. There was a clear elite group. And we talk about how it's by far the most important position in the sport and all that. 3 of the 4 guys that are clearly coming into the year the best of the best quarterbacks, 3 of the 4 are not going to the playoffs. I don't think that the Ravens are going, which, by the way, means Josh Allen, the time is yours, bro. I mean, it is your time.
Can there
now.
be more pressure on Josh Allen to finally get to a Super Bowl?
Yes, there's even more.
Wow.
Because those other guys aren't in it, there's even more. But the point I was going to make is a lot of those teams you just mentioned, right? Jacksonville or Herbert or, the Steelers. Somebody has to win these games, Dan. I mean, a lot of these teams are going to be playing against each other. I mean, these are the teams in the playoffs. So you just named 3 of the 7 teams that are going to be in the playoffs in the AFC. I mean, I guess all 3 of them could lose at their first round, but somebody has to win these games. We have to start to believe in somebody because Mahomes, he's not coming.
Yeah, he's not walking through that door. That's Ross Tucker yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show. And think about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 42 years old, hasn't missed a start. He's been playing with a broken left wrist, but he's managed to get out there for every game. And if they win the next game against Cleveland, which they probably will, or actually if Baltimore loses on Saturday night to Green Bay, then the Steelers clinch. And, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people were, including me, skeptical when he signed with the Steelers. Like, yeah, okay, is he going to be able to stay healthy? 2 years ago, he played only 4 snaps for the Jets. He did make every start for them last year. But he's leading them into the playoffs. And in a year where there are no great teams, Buffalo's got the best quarterback going into the playoffs for sure, and Josh Allen. But are they a great team? No. Is Jacksonville a great team? No. So Steelers could be in the mix. This is an odd year, but I agree with Ross Tucker that the pressure is greater than ever on Josh Allen. If not now, then when? Because next year, maybe Mahomes has got a retooled roster and maybe they're back in the mix. And there's a lot of speculation about John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, whether this is going to be it for him because this was supposed to be a step-up year, and it looks like they're not even going to make the playoffs. In fact, I was asked about that yesterday, and this is what John Harbaugh said. He says, there's no such thing as your job or my job. We have responsibilities. We're given opportunities to steward those responsibilities if you're given a job to do that until you're not. I try to do the job, not to try to keep the job, because there's no such thing as having a job. You're just doing the job. That sounds like a comedy routine. Does he have the job? Does he want that? Whatever. But, yeah, they with the loss to New England on Sunday night, they're pretty much done. I mean, they're going to need a miracle to get into the playoffs, and it's going to involve the Steelers collapsing. And I just don't see them losing to Cleveland. And, Green Bay with something big to play for, they're still trying to get in. Green Bay playing Baltimore on Saturday doesn't look good for them. So it's kind of an odd year in the NFL, and that's why I talked to my cousin, 40-year season ticket holder for the Bears. Bears were not supposed to be here. And are they the best team in the NFC? No, but are they good enough? Are they good enough to do that? I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I got Bram coming up next. He'll be doing the game on Thursday afternoon, and he'll give you a little preview of what's to come. Next, I will be back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.